A father told police his 6-year-old son died of natural causes. But then, investigators found a video, and what they saw made them charge him with murder. You will not believe what this father did to his own child. April 2nd, 2021. Stafford Township, New Jersey. 31-year-old Christopher Gregor burst through the emergency room doors at Southern Ocean Medical Center with his 6-year-old son, Corey, in his arms. The child is lethargic, nauseous, barely conscious. Gregor throws the boy over his shoulder and runs through the corridors, desperate for help. Medical staff immediately rush Corey in for a CAT scan to see what is happening inside his body. But before they can find answers, the unthinkable happens. The child goes into cardiac arrest. Despite everything the doctors try, they cannot resuscitate him. At approximately 5:03 p.m., 6-year-old Corey Mitchell is pronounced dead. Outside the emergency room, hospital surveillance cameras capture Christopher Gregor's reaction. His hands go to his head. He bends over, overwhelmed, and then he leaves. He does not stay with his dead son. He does not wait for answers. He walks out of the hospital and disappears. The question everyone is asking is simple. What happened to Corey Mitchell? Corey Mitchell was a happy kid. He was artistic. He loved outer space. He loved playing sports with his friends. He loved dancing. His mother, Brianna Mitchell, has countless videos of him making silly faces and dancing to music. Brianna was only 17 when she had Corey. She grew up with him. Their bond was unbreakable. Corey's grandmother, Rebecca Mitchell, remembers him as loving and caring. He always liked to help others. He was kind and considerate. He was just a happy, good kid. In her home, Brianna has created a memorial shrine to Corey. Photos, toys, his yearbook, a Beyblade that he played with, an Easter basket from the year he passed that he never got. It is a reminder of what was lost. A 6-year-old boy with his whole life ahead of him. A boy who loved his family and who was loved in return. A boy who deserved to grow up. On the day Corey died, Detective Dennis Mitchell from the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office was alerted. He was made aware of a child's death at Southern Ocean Medical Center. The next morning, Detective Mitchell observed the post-mortem examination of Corey, conducted by medical examiner Dr. Dante Ragusa. Dr. Ragusa determined the cause of death to be blunt impact injuries to the heart and liver, with sepsis as a contributing factor. The manner of death was listed as undetermined. That meant investigators needed to provide the doctor with more information about the circumstances surrounding the death. They needed a detailed timeline. Very few cases are designated undetermined. In child death reviews, those were the ones investigators flagged as needing to be examined very carefully. The first thing investigators wanted to do was get the timeline down as precisely as possible so they could start ruling people in and ruling people out. Corey was in the care of his mother, Brianna Mitchell, from midnight to 9 a.m. From 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., he was in the care of his father, Christopher Gregor. The timeline was extremely important. Investigators could see what people were doing before and after the event, and even more than that, they could see what people weren't doing, where people were deviating from normal human behavior. Detective Mitchell interviewed Brianna Mitchell. She agreed to speak without an attorney present. She provided a binder full of paperwork with medical records and DCP and P records. Christopher Gregor found out he was Corey's father approximately 2 years prior to Corey's death. A paternity test was ordered. He went from living in Baltimore and teaching to moving back to New Jersey to take care of a child he just found out he was the father of. The custody arrangement for Corey between Brianna and Chris varied through the years. Initially, Brianna had full custody. At one point, she lost custody due to addiction. Her mother, Rebecca, assumed full custody. As Chris came into the picture, they ultimately shared joint custody, with Chris having primary residential custody. When Corey first came into Christopher's life, he was overweight. He had learning difficulties. He was not doing well in school. Christopher moved into his family home and took care of Corey daily. Corey became athletic. He was competitive in sports and doing very well in school. He was one of the top students and very well liked. But Corey's relationship with his father was rocky. Corey looked up to him. He wanted to be like him, and he loved him. But he also was being abused by him. When you're a kid, you don't understand. You still love the person that's doing it. Rebecca Mitchell voiced concerns for child abuse. She told investigators about specific incidents from the time Chris was present in Corey's life. Corey came home with a busted lip and blood on his clothes. He said he didn't want to talk about it. Rebecca called Chris. She called David Gregor. Nobody answered. That's when they called the police, and they in turn called DCP and P. There were a number of referrals to DCP and P, some named Christopher Gregor as the alleged perpetrator. None listed Brianna as being suspected of abusing Corey. Investigators couldn't tell, just based on these reports, what was true and what wasn't, because a number of these were deemed unfounded. When investigators searched Christopher Gregor's home, they found very few pictures of Corey. It looked like a bachelor's apartment, but then they found something in the trash, soiled clothing belonging to Corey, hidden under other garbage. 2 days after Corey's death, Christopher Gregor was stopped by police in Alcoa, Tennessee. He had fled. He provided several explanations. One was that he was going to visit his brother in California. Another was that he needed to clear his head. He told police that if he never came into Corey's life, he might still be alive today. Investigators reviewed the footage of his stop. They saw someone joking, smiling, deflecting, not someone grieving their 6-year-old son. Then investigators got the treadmill video. Christopher Gregor forced his 6-year-old son to run on a treadmill at speeds up to 12 miles per hour. When Corey fell, Gregor stepped out of the way and let him hit the ground. He picked him up by his shirt and bit him on the head. He made him get back on the treadmill and run again. Corey fell off the back 5 more times. Nearly 3 months after investigators reviewed that treadmill video, Christopher Gregor was arrested and charged with endangering the welfare of a child. He was released on bail reform, but the investigation continued. Investigators looked at Gregor's phone. His search history was particularly relevant. He searched things like, can my phone be tracked in airplane mode? Can my car be tracked? How long after an autopsy can murder charges be filed? Prior to Corey's death, he searched about red marks and if they would turn to bruises. In March of 2022, Dr. Andrew returned to finding that Corey's cause of death was blunt force injuries to the heart and liver, and that the manner of death was homicide. He also listed a contributing factor to Corey's death as ongoing child abuse. Almost 1 year after Corey's death, Christopher Gregor was arrested and charged with murder. More than 3 years after Corey Mitchell's death, Christopher Gregor went to trial in Ocean County, New Jersey. He faced 1 charge of endangering the welfare of a child for the treadmill incident and 1 charge of murder for the death of Corey. The prosecution argued that healthy 6-year-olds don't just die during the course of a business day. The defense argued that Corey died from sepsis as a result of pneumonia, natural causes. The defense's expert, Dr. Michael Bowden, testified that the bruises had nothing to do with Corey's death. The prosecution's expert, Dr. Andrew, testified that the injuries occurred between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. when Corey was in the sole custody of his father. After 2 days of deliberations, the jury reached a verdict. Christopher Gregor was found not guilty of murder, but guilty of aggravated manslaughter and child endangerment. At sentencing, Judge Guy Ryan told Christopher Gregor that the treadmill video showed a callous display towards Corey. He said there was no loving interaction, no pat on the back, no hug, no, "Are you okay, son?" He sentenced Gregor to 20 years for aggravated manslaughter and 5 years for endangering the welfare of a child, to be served consecutively, a total of 25 years in prison. Brianna Mitchell told the court that Corey was her life, her world, her everything. She said she hates Gregor for not letting her say goodbye to her son. Rebecca Mitchell told the court that Corey asked her, "Does God see what my daddy does to me? And why doesn't he help me?" Days before his death, Corey wrote, "I died" on the sidewalk outside their home. He knew nobody could help him. Now his family is fighting to pass Corey's law to protect other children.